Hi everybody, welcome to the dungeon. My name is Robin and today is Flameworking just for fun. So today I wanted to revisit a demonstration I did a way back, and it was 101.86, the WigWag cane. And I always thought before I tried this cane that it was going to be really difficult to do. And once I kind of figured it out, it was really so much easier than I thought. So if you have been interested in playing around with this cane, then I hope that you enjoy this demonstration. So without further ado, let's get right into it. As always, I hope you're all doing safe and well out there. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time in the dungeon. All right, we're going to start this cane out by heating up a nice amount of my base color, which is the dark ivory. And I just want to get a nice amount to start out with. And while I am heating it up and gathering it all, I'm also heating up my punty so that when I'm ready to stick it on there, it's ready to go. And I want to make sure that my punty doesn't go too far into the glass. And then I will just add a little bit more and then cast off. And if I have a little extra hanging off the edge, I'll just lift it up there and continue. So now what I want to do is just heat this up and shape it in my marble mold. And if you don't have a marble mold, it's okay. You can just shape it in the flame, and if you need to roll it or use a shaping tool, you can go ahead and do that. The edge of a knife would work, or any kind of a graphite pad. Okay, once I have my shape, I'm going to add the stripes, and I'm using the Reichenbach Multi Color Dark, and it did not come out as colorful as I was hoping that it would, but I still think it turned out really interesting. So what I'm looking to do here is add my stripes without thinking about them being perfect. I want it to be nice and organic, so I'm adding thick stringer and a little bit thinner stringer, and I'm not going to worry about the placement. You know, it doesn't have to be perfectly spaced out. I'm just going to get some stripes on there. And as I'm adding this cane, I do want to make sure that my base color is warm so the cane sticks to it easier. All right, once I have all of those little stripes on there, I'm going to just make sure that they're all hanging over the punty, so everything pulls out nice and evenly. So I'm just going to spend a moment to pull that up a little bit. All right, now we'll heat everything down, and I want to focus a little bit of heat on the tip of this and pull that glass off until everything is nice and even at the end. And I'll just pull a little stringer of glass. If you need to, you can do that more than once. All right, now let's spend a little bit of time just heating and shaping. Now, if you don't have a marble mold, you can go ahead and just roll it on the graphite pad like I'm doing here. And that kind of bare spot there is bugging me, so I thought I'd grab a bit of the intense black because it's really super thin, and I thought I'd just add a little stripe there. I feel like that was a lonely spot. Then I'll just flatten it down and start to coat this all in my clear. Now, I'm pretty sure that if I hadn't have coated it in the clear, it would have looked much different. I'm not sure if I would have gotten more color out of it. Either way, I encased it. So when I encase, I just get a nice amount of glass hot, and I go from the top to the bottom, swiping and overlapping as I go. And I am using the Super Clear by Effetri, and this is a 8mm rod. And just like with the stripes, I want to make sure that the clear is over my punty area. So I'll take a moment to just heat up the clear on the edge down there and pull it up, and I'll feel better in the end. Everything will pull out nice and evenly. All right, we got a little bit of ways to go here. I just want to melt this down and just start to smooth everything out. Of course, when you're making this cane, it does not have to be the same colors that I'm using. It could be whatever colors that you want. All right, now I'm ready for my second punty, and I'll just make sure both ends are nice and hot, and I'll apply it right to the bottom where all of the stripes are coming together, making sure that I don't push it in too deep. And now I'll go ahead and heat everything up and get it ready to pull out. You can't, if you want to, you can twist this while you pull. You'll have a slightly different look when you do your wig-wag. In this case, though, I am going to just pull it nice and straight. So when all of my glass is nice and, feeling soft, that's when I'll start to pull it out. And I don't pull very quickly at first. I'll start to draw it out nice and slow because I have a really big amount of glass. If I have a small amount of glass, then I'm pulling a little faster. Okay, so I'm just going to heat that end up to get as much color as I can to stretch off of the punty there. And that is it. Now we are ready to do the wig-wag. All right, so notice right off the bat that the candle of my flame is on the tiniest it can be. It is so small. You could do this with a candle, actually. So what I'm doing is I'm taking one section and heating it, coming out of the flame when it starts to get soft, and then I'm just giving it a slight twist. And as soon as that stiffens up, then I'll start to heat it again a little bit lower, right under that twist. And then I'll just repeat it, but I'm twisting the opposite direction. And then once that stiffens up, I'll go ahead and go underneath that twist, and I'll heat it up until it softens, and I'll twist it the other way. So this whole half of what I pulled, half of this large cane that I pulled, and I probably got about maybe 3 feet, 2.5 feet out of it. But one half of it, what you're seeing here, took me about 15 minutes to put this pattern in. So give yourself time. And in fact, as I'm doing this, it's really meditative. It's a very soothing process. So I really do appreciate just hanging out and doing a little design work with these bits of cane. And if you need practice, grab any thick, or thin cane that you can and practice with it. Any cane can turn into a wig-wag cane very quickly just by doing this process. And if you want your cane to go all the way to the bottom, just go ahead and punty it up with a bit of glass and continue. I'm looking at all this cane that I have in a bucket, thinking about what they would all look like in a wig-wag shape. Anyway, here's my finished cane next to the straight cane. You can see the difference there. And now it's time to put it on a bead. And what I'm going to do for my bead is just do a very simple bead because this is a lengthy demo. And before I start, if I'm using a fresh rod, I will always take a bit of the bottom off so it doesn't boil and kind of ruin the bead. So I'm going to heat up my mandrel, and then what I do here is just kind of heating, and I'm just going to not really slopping it on, but I'm just twisting it on as I go, making sure that the mandrel is also nice and hot. If your hot glass touches a cool mandrel, it will gas off and start to boil, and then you'll have to pop all these bubbles. So I'm getting like 1.5 inches worth of glass on my mandrel here. And now I just want to even things out before I add some more. All right, so this time I'm going to add it in the same way, just spiraling it on. And I'm using a thick black. This is like a 7mm, 8mm rod, and it just allows me to get more a little quicker. So after I'm done winding that up, I am going to take a little bit of time and just even everything out, shape it up, and get it ready for the cane. And usually how I do this, and you can see how I roll it by the change in the color when I roll it on the graphite pad there, like exactly where my pressure is. So I'm trying to make like the left side match the right side. I always cut my beads kind of visually in half and work them one side and then another, and it just works out a little easier for me. I feel like I can get to my final shape quicker. All right, now we're ready to add the cane. And I'm just gonna make sure my bead is warm where I'm attaching it. And I'm gonna start at one end and very gently make sure that I'm heating my cane up as I go, and where they're both touching, that's kind of where my hottest spot is. And I want to also try to get my cane as tightly wrapped up as possible. Now, this whole wrap took me like 5 minutes to do, and when you're spending that much time trying to, wrap a cane or adding design work to your glass, you also need to make sure that you flash the cool end as well. So you'll notice from time to time I am flashing that left side of the bead. Okay, here's where things get crazy. So I grabbed, I should have grabbed a different pair of tweezers. So I kind of messed up here, got a little out of control. And then I tried to break the glass off, and then I got angry and frustrated. And then I pulled the knife out and just thought I'd start breaking on it. And then I got over myself real quick and just added a little extra cane to the naked spot there and just kept going. You guys, sometimes crazy stuff happens, but you learn every single time. So I'll know next time not to use tweezers that have round ends on them to do that kind of technique. Anyway, so now what I'm going to do is just finish everything up by making sure my edges look nice. And I am going to just melt all this in, and that will be it for this bead. I'm not going to add any clear on top. I just wanted to see how this design was going to work out. Usually I have seen the WigWag cane used in stripes, and it looks completely different when you wrap it on a bead like this. It reminds me of wood grain, like the cut end of wood. So maybe you agree with me, maybe not. Either way, I did want to mention, I don't want to just intensely heat everything in and expect the glass to just melt down all by itself. I want to give it some help by rolling it out on my graphite pad. It will push the cane outward, and it'll make it look nicer if you coax it along by heating and rolling on the graphite. All right, you guys, that's it for this wood grain WigWag bead. I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, I hope to see you next time in the dungeon.